Our next topic is climate. So let's start by defining climate. Climate isn't the same thing as weather. Weather is a short-term thing, or what actually happens day to day, year to year, in terms of temperature, rain, etc. Climate, on the other hand, is a long-term condition. Think of climate like the average of weather over time. It is sort of what you would expect for a place based on historical records. For weather and climate, the two main variables we look at are temperature, or how hot or cold a place is, and precipitation, or how wet or dry a place is. For any place in the world, there are three general factors that affect temperature and precipitation. One is latitude, or how far north or south you are from the equator. For example, the poles are cold and the equator is hot. Another is elevation, or how high a place is. The third is where you are on a landmass or continent. For latitude, it's a simple pattern for temperature. The equator gets more direct sunlight and is relatively hot. The poles get less direct sunlight and are cold. Because of the way air moves around on the Earth, some latitudes like the equator get a lot of rain, while the other tends to be much drier. So different latitudes can have different combinations of temperature and precipitation patterns. Latitude also affects seasonal changes. In the tropics near the equator, it tends to be hot year-round. Outside of the tropics, in what we call the mid or middle latitudes, we get much more distinct seasons. Elevation affects temperature in that it's colder at high elevations. While it varies from place to place, worldwide there is a drop in temperature as you go up in elevation. So for example, some mountain ranges, showing this is showing the drop in elevation, drop in temperature with elevation. So for example, some mountain ranges have a variety of climate zones affecting the types of food that are grown at different elevations. Elevation also affects precipitation, primarily by what we call rain shadows. On a global scale, winds tend to move in the same direction and interact with mountains as they move over them. On the side of the mountain where the wind is blowing against, you get much higher rainfall as the air is forced over the mountain. On the side of the mountain that the wind is blowing against, you get much higher rainfall as the air is forced over the mountains, and on the opposite side you get what we call a rain shadow with drier conditions. Lastly, where you are relative to a continent or ocean affects your climate. The ocean tends to moderate temperatures with less extremes of hot or cold weather. You may notice this as nice weather when you go to the coast. As you move away from the ocean, you get more extremes of hot or cold weather. Even on the scale of an urban area like Los Angeles, you will see different climate in places away from the ocean than near the ocean. Lastly, there are circular patterns of ocean currents that affect how warm or cold the water is off West Coast versus East Coast. You may notice how cold the water is in beaches off of California. East Coast tend to have warmer water, and this warmer water helps produce more summer storms with more rain.